This is called the Turtledog Hammock Stand. I'm guessing that may be the handle of the person who designed this. We're going to need 6 2x2s that can vary between 6 and 7 feet long. We had these cut at the hardware store to 6.5 feet. That way it saves us the effort. And you're going to need 2 hinges. These are the 5-inch hinges. You're going to attach the legs, one leg here with a bolt each so they can pivot, and the other leg here. That makes up your tripod. You're going to need some drill bits for drilling the holes that bolt this to the hinges. T-nuts. They hammer down into the wood and the bolts screw into this. You're going to need 8 bolts, a wrench for tightening your bolts, a hammer for setting the T-nuts. You're going to need the tape measure. Ratchet is very handy when it comes to tightening these. Sandpaper to knock off the rough edges. We use paracord to keep the legs from spreading out too far. And there's a ridge pole that comes across the top that separates the tripods, keeps them from folding in on each other. And a very important consideration here, you don't want anything pulling this way on your tripods because they'll tip right over. So they're actually hanging the hammock off of the end of this spreader bar, tension bar, whatever you want to call it. So all of the force that's on the tripod is only going down. All of the inward force is being held apart by this spreader bar. One of the problems we've run into is I am using 5/16 bolts to hold this together because I want this to be solid. The holes in my hinges are not quite large enough, so I've got to drill them out a little bit larger so it'll fit. So a piece of scrap wood to drill into. Now, if you've had much experience with trying to drill out an existing hole in metal, you know that sometimes this can grab and twist out of your hand. So you want to set your clutch a little light on this so that it'll just, it won't hurt yourself, be a little safer. The next step, we have to drill the pilot holes for the bolts that hold this together. Figure I'm going to come down about 1 inch. This is a nice, useful little tool to have if you're trying to measure a distance. That gives me 1 inch right there, and I'm just going to eyeball for the middle. Now for added strength, I don't want to put a bolt along the grain because the wood might split. So I want to look here at the end, find where my grain is running, and put my hole across the grain or through the grain rather than splitting in between it. So in that case, these two are laid out just how I need them. Oddly enough, on these, most of these, the grain is running diagonal, so it's hard to get it exactly the way we need it. This one's going to be, we're going to run it this way, and this one's about the way we need it. If you've got a drill press, this would be better to get your holes straight and even, but I don't, so I'm doing this by hand. Start out a little slow so we're not tearing the grain up too much. And you clean up your edges here. That's not too bad. You're almost going to have, if you're using pine, going to have some tear out at the bottom. But if you're gentle enough, you won't have much. Alright, so we've got to drill a little bit of a pilot hole for this T-nut. And it doesn't have to be very big. You don't want to go very deep. Maybe a 1/4 inch. doing a preliminary set on these, and then we'll move over to something a little more solid to hammer them in with.
This way.
The next step is to assemble it. Now this hinge will come about 270 degrees, so you would not want to do it this way because you'd have legs going that way. So you want to make sure that it's folded flat like this when you assemble. This is going to be opposite side of the hinge on both of them. And the way this will go together, we'll get this board out of the way for the moment. Turn the T-nut side down and line up your holes. Alright, then you take your third leg, the one that's got the 2 bolt holes in it, put it in between the two. Again, make sure your T-bolts are down. And you're going to fold this down and line up your holes. T-bolts are going to go up. At this stage, it's probably easier to take this off the table and stand it up.
What am I doing?
I'm going to just hold that board.
This one?
Yeah.
Yep, I got it.
Alright, now you got them started and you just tighten everything down now because you basically put your tripod together. The leg with the 2 bolts you're going to get fairly tight. The other ones you're going to leave just a little bit on the loose side because they have to pivot from side to side when you fold this thing up for transport. And now you can come back around and tighten these two. Oh, thank you. That helps a lot. And now you have a basic tripod. We have a little 3/16 shackle here that we use in this remaining hole in the hinge. And that's just to keep your cord that the pipe hangs from having to pull against any sharp edges. Alright, next we're going to drill holes in the legs to run the paracord through to hold the tripod legs at the proper distance. And it's not a particularly critical measurement, you just want them all about the same, so I'm going with about 32 inches. You want to run your hole the same direction that you drilled here for the same reason, so that you're going through the grain instead of splitting the grain. The nice thing about this design is really almost none of these measurements are critical. And then just get it roughly centered. Drill your hole. Okay, I'm getting ready to put the cord through here that keeps the legs from flying apart. That is just some parachute cord we picked up at the hardware store.
Okay, so what kind of knot you gonna do?
It's like a hangman's knot, a noose knot, and you can use it on bracelets, but it helps to make the cord slide back and forth.
Well, that's kind of helpful.
So, a little short. Redo that one. If I can get the...
So how did you learn to do all these knots?
I learned on Pinterest.
Ah. Yeah, if y'all ever need anything done, he's the one to do it. Boy, I tell you, he is
So there's the first.
Mr. Handyman.
And you can slide it along.
That's kind of cool.
Bring this in so I have a little bit to work with here. Gonna go around. Still short. There we go.
Okay. 3 times and then through the
Yeah,
the
3 or
loop.
4 times.
Through the loop.
Hold it, and then you tighten the bottom side.
That is so freaking
Let's
cool.
see.
That is so freaking cool. Awesome.
Tripod's finished, then we need to have the spreader pole. The first model has got 2 6.5-foot pieces. We're going to do it a little different on this one just because we've got some scraps laying around. And so this will be a 3-piece, but it should work just as well. And we're going to aim for about 12 foot. The main goal is to get far enough apart for the hammock to hang properly, but have all the pieces fit in the RV. Well, we've got a tapered end here, so they seat into each other, and of course all the tension is going to be pulling it together. So once everything's together, it's the more weight you get on it, the more solid the connection will be. And this is basically a fence rail, top rail for a fence. It comes in 10-foot sections. So at this point, we're basically making a loop to hang the pipe from the tripod. Alright, this part's important. You can't have any force pulling these tripods sideways or they will tip over and move. There's not enough mass here to resist that. So you don't want to attach your hammock to the tripod or on the pipe here where it'll slide and pull on the tripod. That's what these caps are for. Now these are the straps that we use to hang from a tree. We're using them here as well because they give us the ability to adjust the tension on the hammock. We'll probably come up with a little bit better solution later, but this is our first try, so I'm just sticking it through the loop, pulling through there. We are using these in a couple of days, so we're going to refine this design as we go. And just every few inches, these have these little loops that you can connect your hammock to. So I'm going to go hook this up on the other end, and then we're going to string the hammock. As you put weight on the hammock, it pulls the pipe together. All the tension is coming this way on the pipe, but all the weight on the tripod is straight down. What you do not want to do is use this to pull yourself up and down on. It's got plenty of strength this way, not so much this way. Solid as a rock.
you saying? Are you gonna get in one? Ow.
Watch your head, there's a pole there.
I like to pull mine.
I like this.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm kind of a lopsided, but that's normal for me.
What do y'all think?
If I could get Chloe, I need a little portable fan because with my lupus, I can't go. If I could hang one right here, I would totally be out. Are you sure I can't sleep out here this tonight? This is peaceful.
Not awesome.
At one point, we were
That's
thinking
exactly-
instead of get beds, just have stands and just sleep in our hammocks in the bedroom.
Well, we can do that now. We have stands.
Yeah.
A lot of people do it. Something like a third of the world sleeps in hammocks.
Hammocks, yeah.
What do you think, Chloe?
Can you imagine going to some of your events with these? Yeah.
I would do a belt fan.
So what do y'all think?
I like it a lot.
Scott did a good job,
Two
didn't
thumbs up, Scott.
Yes. Thank you.
I don't want to get out.
he?
I really don't.
You don't want to get out because I got the camera on you.
No, I do want to get out because of that.
Hey, this is great. You did good, Scott. Yay! We don't have to harm any trees.
We don't have to hunt for trees.
No.
So remember, get out,
Live life outside your box.
because you know we are. And we're doing it in comfort.
In comfort.
Bye.